Good to see you. I was in a couple of weeks. They were pretty well. Today, right? Yeah, they're going to session. This conversation council. That's not permanent. No, it's not. Thanks soon. I'm getting tired of that. I'm going there. Every teacher will be us. I don't know where it is today. Well, so I say before. When last day was the call out. Right. I thought. So they're like, no, there's not. Engineers. Yeah. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I may have to talk a little louder because of the echo in here. Is that what it is? And there's not a lot of people here today. I think this rain has confused everybody. They don't know what that moisture is and stuff coming out of the sky is. What scares them so much. Welcome to the September 27th meeting of Beavercreek Rotary Club. I'd like to thank our greeters, Bob Kachoy. It was supposed to be Joe Jenkins, but David ran in for him. So that's all right. Eric is off drinking wine somewhere. He didn't like. I think they went to Washington State somewhere there to the first wine better. Beth Handworker for everything that she does, getting everybody set up, getting our speaker ready to go. So we'll have a great presentation. Pete Bales, Mark Weinstein, and Mike Zwick for the great programs, and Jim Gundel for the website. I'd like to ask Danny Jarvie to come forward. The invitation.
Greetings. Will you join me in prayer? Holy Creator, we ask you to guide those who, as our government leaders, to make their daily decisions that affect us, and so that their efforts, international or local, shall be motivated by the same golden rule of charity and goodwill. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Secretary's report, Joe Jenkins.
So we are at 45% today. We have a couple guests. Abby Graham. Hi. Hi, Abby. Josh Lyson's here as well.
Josh.
Hey, good. Come what? No, the other sign, sharp. Yeah.
Next up, and I don't want too much overwhelming applause for this, but Chris Hadley, Sergeant Ross. That's too much.
No,
Take go to his head.
Statistically speaking, with how few people we have here and how loud that applause was, that was the greatest one so far. So I appreciate you all. All right, good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Hello again to our guest Josh and our long-term guest Abby, also our incredible speaker today. Today is September 27th, which is the 271st day of the year, which means we are 74% through the year. That is almost 3/4 of the way, which is kind of crazy. Go through some birthdays. Mike Kenya, excuse me, has a birthday coming up on the 2nd. No partners' birthdays. Pete looks like he's got another anniversary coming up this week, but this will be his 5-year with Rotary on the 1st. And Beth will be celebrating her 2nd year on the 1st as well. Some good things that happened today in history. Going back to 1822, the Rosetta Stone was officially deciphered. Going up to 1908, production began at the Ford Automotive Plant up in Detroit, Michigan, to produce the very first Model T. Going on to 1954, the Tonight Show, which is now the longest current running entertainment program in America, debuted on live national TV on NBC. We go to 1998, a search engine that became so popular that its name became a verb was founded. If you cannot think of what search engine that might be, you can always Google it. Got one left. That's all I wanted. 2011, Tony Bennett became the oldest living person to top the U.S. chart when the 85-year-old Duet 2 LP went #1. Will also note, I think this was his very first #1 album of his 60-year career. Moving on to some more local dominance from our schools here. Last week, I'm sure we all saw varsity football team beating Miamisburg 19-10, which included one of my favorite plays, a pick six for the good guys. Not only did it end a 39-game losing streak in the G-Walk, it also started a 1-game winning streak in the G-Walk. So we're hoping they continue that momentum tonight. The JV team did not have the same result, but the JVB team also brought home a win against Miamisburg. Girls varsity volleyball team beat Northmont. The JV team also beat Northmont. Men's and women's cross country teams won the Foot Wing Cup for best combined score, and they got to receive their trophy from a gentleman by the name of Nico Young. He is an American long distance runner who is so good at what he does, he competes in the Olympics. So big deal for them to receive their trophy from fellow Olympian. Beavercreek Middle School cross country teams have now broken their season win totals by the boys getting their 6th win and the girls getting their 5th win for the season. For all you keeping track, the boys are now 6-0 for the season and the girls are 5-1. So the old adage, if you win every time, you're doing good. Girls varsity soccer team beat Springboro 3-0. Men's varsity beat Walnut Hills 4-0. The reserve team also beat Walnut Hills. JV team beat Springboro. The boys golf team beat CJ right here in the best golf course in the state. The girls golf team also qualified for districts after channeling their inner Tiger Woods and in his prime by shooting a school record, and also 3 of them shot their personal best. So a good time to be bringing your A game for sure. And the boys also played in the sectional tournament, but their team did not have the same result, but they did have 1 individual qualify for districts. If you are looking for some things to celebrate this weekend and this week, we can start off today. Today is World Day. It's also National Crush a Hand Day, which ironically, mostly crushing hands, but I had to turn it down for reviewing the job description, and I learned it was so depressing. I'm on a roll. It's also National No Excuses Day. And if you are a vegetarian and somebody hugs you, it is Hug a Vegetarian Day. Tomorrow is Ask a Stupid Question Day and National Drink a Beer Day, which I don't recommend celebrating both of them at the same time. Sunday, we have National Coffee Day, not to be outdone by National Starbucks Day. There's also National Police Remembrance Day. Moving on to Monday, we have National Podcast Day, Love People Day, Orange Shirt Day, and then National Extra Virgin Olive Oil Day. Going into Tuesday, starts a new month, so a lot of monthly things that we can celebrate or participate in. We got Mental Health Awareness Month, Caffeine Addiction Recovery Month, Financial Planning Month, it's also Dessert Month, Disability Employment Awareness Month. We have Chili Month, Book Month, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Pizza Month, which obviously makes October a great month. It's also Fire Prevention Month. And then also starting on Tuesday, we have International Coffee Day, Fire Pup Day, which I will be boycotting. Wednesday, we're moving on to Name Your Car Day, Custodial Worker Recognition Day, which those guys get all the recognition in the world for what they do. We also have National Produce Misting Day, which is a big event at grocery stores. It's also National Coffee with a Cop Day, but Beavercreek Police Department will be celebrating that Thursday, the 10th, from 8 to 10 at Fresh Time. It is also National Walk Bike to School Day, which I don't think any of us will be participating in that. We're looking for some other things to do tonight. If you haven't heard, it's the homecoming football game. Rumor has it that the team down south is hoping for a rainout so they don't have to play us. Tomorrow we have Rocket Day at the Air Force Museum. We mentioned this last week. They're doing another monarch tagging at the Kugler wetlands from starting at 1 o'clock. And if you have kids or young ones, they will have free crafts and a very hungry caterpillar maze for them to go through. That also kicks off Oktoberfest and Germantown pretzel. Sunday, we have Touch a Truck at City Barbecue from 12 to 2, which means there might be a Stephen Brown sighting, but I cannot hear. And then Tuesday, we can join our friends at the Beavercreek Chamber for their monthly local lunch at Claudia Shiana at 12. And then also, if you go to Red Robin here in Beavercreek, anytime on Tuesday, 20% of your food sales will be donated to the Violence Free Future. So definitely go check them out. That's for dine-in or carry out as well. And then also Wednesday, the Beavercreek Women's League will be hosting their candidates and issue forum right here, starting at 4 o'clock. And then this is probably on Eric's calendar. Thursday, the wine festival at Southern Ohio Brewery will be from 5 to 8. Also, if you want to go ahead and circle on your calendar, next a week from Saturday will be another try a truck, but over by the fire station. So our favorite part, today's fines. Obviously, if you're not wearing your badge, or if you are late, that is $1. If you do not own an orange shirt, which should be nobody here, that will be $1. Also, if you've ever told an old tale to a youngster about how you used to walk through the rain and snow, up and down hills, backwards, forwards, cartwheels, all that fun stuff, that also is $1. $1.
Thanks, sir. Do we have any happy bucks? Still. Okay, somebody's gotta be happy about something. Oh, that's it. Happy about it. Oh, my goodness, look at this.
Yesterday, at the commission meeting, we had a proclamation for Violence-Free Futures Month. Big deal. And it's the vigil,
October 7th, I think.
October 7th, and they'll have a vigil that they do every year. They have testimonies by victims, and it's really moving and supportive. We also proclaimed it Archives Month in Greene County. And if you don't know the Greene County Archives, they rock. They got history of everything. The tornado, really wonderful people that work real hard on what they do. So that was $5. The other $5 tomorrow is the induction of the Greene County Women's Hall of Fame. And I got $5 for each of the people. Nina Josie is one. She owns a business, aerospace business. Wonderful. Joanne Regano, in education, on the Board of Education, Beavercreek, wonderful. Becca Corrales, I don't know her very well, but I think she is amazing. A lady named, I don't know this one, her name is Jane Dooley. Jane Dorley. Anyone know her? Okay, Fish Pantry in Fairborn. And then the last one is someone I think most of you'll know, Ellen Farthing, Sloan Farthing. She takes care of the senior center in Fairborn. All wonderful people, all very deserving. And tomorrow at we're gonna have the ceremony at Walnut Grove Country Club, and it'll be wonderful. So $10.
That doesn't quite add up. There's $5.
How much?
Your math is. And $5 per lady, you said.
For each lady, one bag.
Oh. I didn't know.
Cheers.
I didn't hear many. Try to keep it straight. Danny.
I have a happy buck. Thank you, Josh, for coming back.
Oh, I got a happy buck. Thanks for having me back.
Someone else.
Tomorrow, also, there was a sign up sheet. I think there's 5 of us so far that signed up for tomorrow at Greene County Fish Pantry, to pass out food to veterans. And then also, piggyback off family violence, we have our, first and pastries tomorrow from, and then tomorrow night, Michael's house fundraiser at the Wonder Grip 5 to 8.
Fine. That's it for the charter. That was really safe, thing. Anyone else happy bucks?
Just one, Don.
Just one, okay.
Tomorrow, you're talking about the veterans, and we're all very supportive of our veterans. We started something in Greene County called Warrior Resiliency, and they're going to be having veterans, probably a dozen of them, at the Cedar Creek State Park, and they're gonna do archery. So it's an opportunity for vets to get together, and socialize, but get some confidence in something like fishing, archery, shooting, fun stuff. So I'm gonna try to drop out there. It starts at 10 before I go to lunch.
Any more happy lunch? Steph?
Hey, real quick, I just want to thank the club for sending a card. It was folks out to visit Debbie Gross out at Trinity. She got transferred last week over there. Had a chance to see her a couple times. She's doing better. Still has some recovery to do, but she was very encouraged by the card you guys signed. So it really meant a lot to her because while I was out there, she goes, "Oh, let me show you what the club sent me," and made me read all of it. And so thank you. That really meant a lot. Debbie and I had signed up to be greeters next week, and I don't think that's gonna work for her. And then I ended up getting tickets I can afford to the Penn State football game next, and just my daughter. So I won't be here next Friday, so I know Dawn was gonna make a plug. So if you guys, would help us out, and then, feel free to pay me if you need that stuff sometime. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the update on Debbie. That's good. Anyone else? Well, I have a happy luck as well. I was invited to speaking events, the invited at the foundation gala last week, and I did a tribute to the Vietnam vets, and that was a good evening. I really enjoyed that. So I want to thank Mary and Montgomery for inviting me to do that. Anyone else? Did a terrific job. Right. She's go to our Christmas festive program. We have ticket number 1175552. There we go. Looking for the Queen of Hearts. Oh, so those, five rooms. Joe, you're still in it. He's won the last two that were well over $1,000 each, so that was good. Announcements, any announcements for good of the club?
I have one, Don. So next Friday I won't be here. I know you guys will be really sad about that, but we're going to a Ribbon of Hope fundraiser. I have a couple places still at my table. If anybody would like to come, it's for breast cancer awareness at Sinclair. So let me know if anybody wants to.
Yeah, thank you. I have a couple, Ed Phillips is in the hospital. He went to the hospital this past Monday. I talked to Diane and he's still there. I had Dane try to speak with him, and I guess it helped out a lot to have him go there. So if you have to think about him at 7 or whatever. Tomorrow, Joe's already talked about this, the fish pantry. October 5th, I sent an email out that we'll be helping fill the Lions Club fill food baskets at the senior center from 12 to 5 on October 5th. So if you can make it out for that, please do. And then October 10th is we were told last week at On Par is a karaoke to sing out polio Rotary event. So even if you don't sing, go try to attend. And if you want to make us all look good, try to sing. All right, time for our speaker. Mark is here. Good. Yeah, I made it. Thank you. Well, Dave was supposed to do this, but actually I was. He's not doing for me, but I need it. So, speaking today is Pete Savard. He has presented to our club before. He has a passion for bringing clean drinking water to people throughout the world who do not have it. He is the president and founder of Global Water Consortium, and he's a former faculty member in the School of Nursing at Cedarville University. Now, you may remember, or you may not, a few years ago, after Pete was here, he and his daughter paddled 444 miles down the Susquehanna River
from New York, I believe, to Chesapeake Bay in Virginia, to raise funds and awareness for his passion. And his passion is, again, and what she'll talk about today is bringing clean water. And I'm joking over my mouth, I'm sorry. It's not emotional. It's passion about bringing clean water to people. Pete earned his bachelor's degree in nursing from Cedarville University. And he has a pair of master's degrees from Wright State, one in logistics and supply management, and the other in administration of nursing and healthcare systems. Today, Pete is going to talk about his passion for supplying clean water throughout the world. So please welcome my friend Pete Savard.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna try to stay out of the way for the camera for those online or that want to see us. But thank you again for having us back. It's been a while since we were here last, and for me, it's been very interesting because when I was here before, we had one project. It had kind of just started, and I didn't really feel like I was excited, but it was kind of hard to communicate maybe a track record or credibility, right? I mean, a lot of you in your respective careers, credibility means a lot. And so now coming back a few years later, tell you about the work, I'm fairly excited. Now they told me I only have 20 minutes, so this isn't like 1 hour 50 lecture or something like that. So I kind of hit the highlights, but really excited. Just kind of a reminder. Oh, there's always something that goes wrong. There we go. It's probably my bifocals here. I'm gonna chase the screen down. You gotta love starting out this way, don't you? Our mission is to bring safe water to those in need. Okay, and so there's a lot of folks doing this, and so why us? What are we doing? And then those things, and we'll talk to that. But the thing of it is, once you have safe water, now you can start attacking some other problems. Health education, right? If you're washing your hands with sewer water, who cares if you use soap, right? Now you can do things like food preservation and all these other things that build off that foundational framework of safe water. And so how do we do that? Well, I want to just give you a quick story of our first project in India. And I think you heard a little about this, but there'll be no coincidence. I don't expect anybody to remember. But we're in the jungles and rice paddies in Southeast India in Andhra Pradesh. Okay, plenty of water, but why the problem? So you can see this well. Hopefully I'll just come up here. You can see this well. This was a well at a children's home. We partnered with the children's home because they had the land, they had the mission of helping people, right? And they wound up being just really a good partner for us. Well, the water table is 1.5 feet below the ground, right? Regular CE, water table 1.5 feet below. It doesn't really help a whole lot, does it? Right? And so, we'll spend money and drill a bore well. Guess what? The water table is still 1.5 feet below the ground, right? And so what you have is a horrific water source, right? Just part of geography, just part of lack of infrastructure. When that well goes dry, you go to the canal. This is the canal where the kids would get their water. Well, we didn't stir that up. We didn't do anything to make the picture look great. That's just straight up sewer water. That dries up, then you got to go, I don't know, about 20 clicks to get to the Godavari River. The lady was standing here with this picture was taken as just raw sewage going, and she's getting her drinking water downstream, right? So the problem is people ask me, well, why would they drink sewer water? Well, there's no door B, but there's just no other option. And so you have to figure out now, what do we do? So people tell me, well, they're poor, they won't buy water. Yes, they will buy water. They will spend money on things that they value. You spend money on things that you value. I have 2 happy bucks here I can put in. I only have $2 in my pocket, right? But you spend money on things that you value. Okay. The thing is, you have to understand, is there a value to save water? Okay. Now, because of this, you have Indians that die, but are just a constant state of illness. I asked my friend Sonia, I said, hey, what does it mean to be sick? And she kind of gave me an answer, and I didn't really understand it. So I said, okay, what about if you have nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, bloody diarrhea, cramps, worms? Great topics over lunch, you're welcome. Right. But what is that? And she's like, oh, she goes, Pete, that's not sick, that's normal. That's normal. Sick is when you're on the ground too weak to get up. So okay, so now you kind of start to see where the problem is here. And so what is the result in? 171 children die in India every hour because of bad water, only reason. British Medical Journal, peer-reviewed research. So during our lunch here today, 171 children died. Okay, now, can you save all of them? No. Is India the only place that has this problem? No. But the question is there something that we can do? Right, can we start making a difference, somewhat? And the answer is yes. Gotta love the delay. There we go. All right, so we come in and we partner with the community. It's not about putting, GWC America, and it's some great American thing, be like us. We partner with the community to locally establish a water manufacturing and distribution plant. Okay, it's theirs. It needs to be Indian, it needs to be Honduran, Kenyan, the Nepalese, wherever we're at. But what we do is we help them go to self-supporting status. Right, sustainability is a buzzword. I almost hate saying it now, but you'll get our interpretation of it, right? And it builds and it uses supply chain technology that we take for granted, and uses technology that we take for granted, right? And so a little bit more about that here. I'll put this in here. I'll just GWC projects, you'll see this. So we introduced the Global Water Consortium. That is technically our name. Apparently I'm a horrible marketing person. Nobody knows how to spell consortium. So if you send me an email or look us up on the web, you get nothing. So we're going by GWC projects, okay? So at least people can usually remember that. But the whole idea of consortium is that you bring people in their different areas of expertise together to do something better than you can do by yourself. Right, Triad Technologies in Vandalia, Parker Store. They're like, how can we help save people? We just have hoses and fittings for equipment. Don't you know? We need to put a plant together. We need hoses. We need fittings. I am not a plumber. Trust me, right? They were so excited before we did our first project. They cleared out a third of their store on a Saturday and said, let's drive it and build this plant here in America first. Make sure we get it right. But again, it's about bringing those people together and saying, hey, what can we do better than if it was just somebody from my perspective in health and supply chain? So with that, there we go. There's our first plant. Nothing fancy. Believe it or not, we found an artist in the jungle. I don't know why an artist was in the jungle, but he did. He, painted this, was all excited. And we started our first plant. This was now 7 years ago. Okay, and so what are the results? Like if you build a plant, what is that? This clicker's gonna kill me. What does that mean? So a lot of people just drill a well. I'm not gonna talk bad about people who drill wells. But what they don't understand is that if you read research, for example, the African Journal of Microbiology, anybody read last month's? Okay, I didn't think so, right? But peer-reviewed research in Africa says after 12 months, all those wells are contaminated. 12 to 24 months are all contaminated. And they're actually contaminated with new pathogens that the people were never exposed to before. Right, so drilling a well gives access, but in our opinion, you have to actually manufacture that raw water to get the expectation that you and I have drinking out of a glass later today. And so what is that manufacturing process? We run it through a processor that makes the rest of this more efficient. You run it through multiple filters. There's 3 stages of filtering there, not just a filter, 3 stages. Sometimes you need to do 4 sources. You run it through RO membranes, right? Get out the TDS, the total dissolved solids, right? It could be salt, could be magnesium, it could be a numerous amount of things. And then you have to run it through UV, kill all the amoebas, the viruses, and things like that. And so only after you run raw water through all of these processes sequentially, do you actually have safe water. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to. Hey, yeah, we donated a filter. Cool. We donated our own thing. Cool. We did the little UV pen. Cool. Right? You try not to be too much of a negative Nanny on here, but you're like, but you don't understand the process of what it takes to make clean water, because even our bad water here in America is not bad water like most of the world. Right? And so we read through all those processes. That's when we talk about manufacturing water. The results. This was fresh out of our raw water source. I didn't mix it up. I didn't add extra stuff. That's just straight sewer water. Ran it through all the processes. That's the first little cup that came out. Wise or not, I don't I drank it. So like, should we test it like that? I trust the system. Yeah. Hindsight, maybe that would have been better. But guess what? I didn't mix it
Because the equipment works. But the things that we take for granted don't exist in a large part of the world. And so you can see the smile on the face, right? I mean, imagine the difference. I'm not recommending it at all, but if you ever drink sewer water, I hope nobody's ever done that, right? But if you drink that and all of a sudden you have this is a big deal. It is a big deal. And so those are the immediate results right, while we were right there. Because we partner with the children's home, the children at the home, the staff at the home, they get the water for free. They don't have to pay into this, right? They're a part of it. Why is that key? Because now these kids can sit in school. The biggest problem in education in the country of Kenya, if you talk to the Minister of Education, is not infrastructure, it's not curriculum, it's not teachers. It's that I can't have the child sit in the classroom for the whole day because of waterborne disease. Right? And so now we immediately start to impact education for the youth of India. Why? Because they can actually sit in school. Right? They're not at home with diarrhea. I'm gonna keep going, I'll never get done. All right, first year, there's a story here, but we'll just keep cruising right along. All right, so when I first talked to you, I think our project might have been going for about 6 months, maybe 9 months. We just finished year 7. I don't have all the stats. You're going to hear year 6 stats. People say, well, what happens if you gave this money to this project? He said you'd never have to ask for any more money. What did it do? Well, it sold 4.8 million liters of water. Okay, not too bad. 960,000 people served. It's a lot of people now that have safe drinking water. For research, 1,008 children in that area should have died. They didn't. What it impacted the future of that community to those families. We grew from 1 employee to 7, 0 delivery trucks to 3. Nobody gave. Nobody gave again. We had the money, we started the project. And when I talk about sustainability, this is what we're talking about. People will buy water if they understand the value of it. If I no longer have typhoid, who would here when if you're retired, awesome. I think that maybe in the future, in 100 years for me, right? But when you worked how many months a year? 12. Rainy season in India, Southeast India comes twice a year, which means you get typhoid twice a year, which means you lose work for 2 months twice a year. Who here wants to lose 4 months of their salary because of bad water? Hard to provide for your family. Right, and so that's gone. So we have now adults working, children in school, the typhoid, the diarrhea is gone. It's tripled the drinking water capacity of the individual. Physiologically, that's a big deal. Right, you need 3 liters of water a day, they're getting about 1 liter of sewer water. Right? So it's a huge difference in health. So then what? They actually started making money. They made money to put aside for future operating expenses, future capital expenses, and they still had excess. So in my mind, I'm watching this group of people. What are you going to do? Are you just going to profit share? I get the Zoom call, I don't know, like 3 a.m. from India. Those are always fun to wake up to, right? Go ahead. Right? They're like, hey, Pete, we have a question for you. The staff has a question. They said, we have excess funds. We have never had excess money in our life. We put aside our operating expenses, we put aside our capital future expenses, we still got money left over. Do you care with the excess if we do things to help our community? Because there are people in America that helped us that will never meet, they'll never see us, and we kind of want to do that for our own community. Do you care if we do that? What do you think my answer was? No. No. And so what did they do? They started a school for pediatric handicapped children. Pediatric or handicapped children here in America are kind of looked down upon. In India, they're more than looked down upon. Usually they're left by the side of the road to die. Right? And so now we've started a school because of that. Food and water, COVID. I mean, you know COVID, how it hit us. Right? It hit them worse. And so people got stranded. When the borders closed within the state of India. So you can go from state to state. So now you have people with no home, no place to go, no food, no water, no shelter. We're able to help with that. The second wave in India was so bad that they were stacking people up like firewood and burning to death. And so my director's nephew is a physician. I met him numerous times. And so I call him like, hey, what can we do? He's like, I don't know. I guess I'm a physician. I have no hospital, no beds, no medicine, no oxygen. I'm literally sorting the living from the dead in the dirt. And I'm like, okay, well, that doesn't sound cool. So what are we gonna do? And so we were able to get some additional funds that went with some of the profits from the water project. We started 3 COVID clinics. And I'll tell you this, every person that made it to our clinics survived. There was 0 deaths. Again, how did that help happen? It happened because we started way over here with water. Foundation for Life. We started looking into other things like food and health. We skipped food because we don't have enough time today for that. But nonetheless, that's what you get out of these projects. I'm running out of time. Someday I'll come back, or you can come to an event or something and hear about Daniel. A kid who was orphaned, destined for these. Do I have plenty of time? Okay. Track where we started. I don't want to be late.
You got till 5.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna tell you this one story. So here in America, if you're orphaned, there's infrastructure for that. I'm not saying it's great. I'm not saying we can't improve it, right? But you're not destined to the sex or the slave trade. That's what happens in India. And this happens in a lot of. And so Daniel was one of those kids. Made it to my friend's children's home, and they took him in. At 16, you're an adult, so now you're just homeless. Right? Hopefully, you can defend for yourself. Well, we hired him, and we have a computer, at the plant. Keep track of, your profit, your profit loss statements, right? All those things that if you're in business, you understand. And he looked up on YouTube. It's like, well, how to do a business statement. We went over there. He didn't tell me. He was kind of sandbagging me a little bit. He didn't tell me we went over there this last summer. And the dude's got analytics that would make most of us shameful. He's like, I think we could actually put this on the website real time so that people donating can see our business analytics. He was like, set up CCTV, for to see, the customers coming. So you get the difference of a child who was orphaned, destined for the sex slave trade, who is now probably doing graduate level business analytics in the jungle because he had access to YouTube. Right, just incredible stories, and I could talk for hours, and I won't on that, but just the really cool things. I want to go back. Let's get a new clicker. Or the skinnier it comes. So when I say, we do water projects, people just think automatically like you drill a well. And I'm hopefully going to communicate, and I've started to do that we do much more than that. But you have to have access to water. But if you don't have access to water, then, it's a different discussion. But the thing that we do is we help with the technical support. Right, this water is tested once a month. Right, just like, any of our municipal water. You have to understand business. You have to understand finance. Right, there's culture, there's education. Our first project there, gentleman who wouldn't drink our water. He was mad. And I was like, dude, you're drinking sewer water. Like, seems like a better option here. But you know what his problem was? His problem was the only word I used in 1987 Cedarville, no one already met was Belton shot. Sherman for World Life Freedom. His only water had looked like what you saw, the sewer water. So now there's some white guy saying, trust me, wink, wink, drink this instead. Think of it. Some Indian dude shows up at your house this afternoon after we're done here, has a glass of sewer water and says, hey man, that whole water thing, you got it wrong. It should smell, it should stink, it should taste, it should make you feel like garbage. Are you gonna listen to him? Okay, good. That was good. That was the right answer. Here's a moment right there, like, sure. No. But think about the mind shift. Think about the cultural and educational mind shift of where you're taking these folks. Like something that they have always known as normal, you're now telling the opposite is true. And so there's a lot of work. It's where my doctoral work was actually, in the understanding the values and the beliefs. So you create education that was now meaningful to them. All righty. We'll keep trucking right along here. Again, this is just some of the pictures of some of the things. When we say sustainable, you have to teach the books, right? How do you keep a P&L statement? Education. How do you start the equipment up? How do you shut it down? How do you do your primary maintenance, preventative maintenance, right? All of those things. This is again just some pictures when I talked to you about, the COVID and the health response. This was one of the 3 clinics that we started. Now that COVID's passed, there's still long haulers. We have long haulers here in the US, right? We still have long haulers there. So we're able to shift focus and use those oxygen concentrators and get those out into the communities for those long haulers that are still suffering from that. And more pictures of just the things that have come off of the fact that we now have safe water and can start understanding what does it mean to be healthy? What does it mean to do things like wash hands, preserve food, right? Understand how disease is transmitted. I got a phone call during COVID. They're like, Pete, you were right. I'm like, okay, that happens every now and then, right? But it was the folks saying, hey, look, we're getting all this COVID education, and the whole thing you talk about disease transmission and the washing of hands and the cleaning of the surfaces, like that matters. And I'm like, yes. But they started now what? They're starting to build on some of that foundational education. Again, you can educate them in the world all they want. It's funny. Go over to some of these places and see somebody brushing their teeth with sewer water. You're like, thank God somebody donated a toothbrush. Right? I mean, no offense if you're a dentist, right? I don't see mine here, so I can say that, right? But you have to start thinking, like, what are you actually really doing? With that, I want to kind of tell you where we're going in the last few minutes here. So my problem as a nonprofit is that we have one successful project and I have 20 some places we could go. Well, it's kind of a jump, right? If you sell one car and all of a sudden now somebody wants you to sell a couple hundred cars, that's a difference, isn't it? Right? And it's a lot of things have to happen to your organization to be able to do that and to still do it well. And so what we stopped doing was talking to people. These were the least formative discussions, so we just stopped talking. Because like, if you talk and say, hey, I think we can help, you're almost getting an expectation that you're going to help. Right? And so we just had to stop there. We're focusing on the ones on the left. There's like 21, maybe 22 there. Can't do math that quick. But it's still a huge jump. And so we had to say, okay, we have to, I told my country directors, there's 4 of them, I said, we have to stop talking to people. We gotta have to kind of figure out, prioritize this thing, where we're gonna go. And so we did that. We started doing the 4 project campaign. Right, so we wanted to do a second project in India. Why? Because we did one, hopefully we can do it again, right? I mean, that's the goal, right? You don't want to just get lucky, right? And so we wanted to do another one in India where we had close resources. We wanted to do one in Nepal. We wanted to do one in Honduras for work that I had done there with Cedarville, work that Cassie's going to be doing there with Cedarville with health clinics, and then do one in Kenya where I had been. And so we decided to focus on those 4 places to do the next 4 projects. Number 1, that helps me look at finance models, cultural models, access models, technical models, and really come to you and say, hey, look, we can do this globally, right? And so we started that. Husband and wife funded the whole Nandagama project. He said, we like what you've done. Here's the check for the whole thing. Go do it. I literally was shaking driving home because I haven't had that happen often, right? And so first 3 months, here's the stats. I don't expect you to read them. Sold 114,000 liters, 22,000 people served, 26 kids should have died, 5 employees, and 1 delivery truck. That's in 3 months. Start up to 3 months, not too bad. And they continue to do that. We went to Nepal, and we started one in Kathmandu. There'll be a chart here shortly that gives you a little bit of the details. We went to Honduras, so we just came back from Honduras in March. We'll hear more about that. But we wound up saying, okay, can't just do one of the places. We probably need to do all 3. And then we're going to Kenya next summer to kind of revisit and relook at that. And so with that, kind of excited, kind of gave you a little bit of the end of the story here. But this gal here, one of the employees in the Nanadamas of the second India project. A little younger than I was. I'm 57. I think she was just 50. Never bought food for herself. Never bought herself a dress. Didn't have a home. Had to beg her whole life. And she was over this project. I'm like, oh, she seemed pretty happy. right? So I asked her, like, hey, why didn't anybody ever want to marry her? It's none of my business, right? But I am curious. Because my framework for thinking I know things has been thrown out the window a long time ago. So why didn't nobody want to marry you? Why didn't nobody ever want to hire you? Her answer was this: she has seizures. And because she sees it, that means she's not right. They have 28 years of ER trauma. I can't tell you the hundreds of people I've taken care of seizures. It's not a sentence to no spouse, no family, no job, and begging for sustainment. Her first paycheck, she bought food for the first time. 50. She bought a dress. She went to the doctor and filled a prescription for medicine. She hasn't ceased since. So again, I have story over story. You know, we talk about water, but when you start with that foundation, you really start to pull all kinds of other threads about meaningful impact. So with that, the Nanagama project is going really well. I'll show you some pictures here of Nepal. Maybe. There we go. All right, so Nepal, that's Mount Everest. That really is from my camera, but it's in a plane. I wasn't flying, right? But you have Mount Everest. You have the beautiful Himalaya mountains, and you're like, well, the water surely has to be good there. That's coming out of the spring here, and we won't go back to seventh grade science, but it's filled with arsenic. And people go, well, what company is poisoning the water? Like, we should go after them. And I'm like, it's on the periodic table of the elements. It's a natural element. It's more concentrated in some places than it's not. Nobody's hurting these people. It's just the way the earth is. Right? You can fix that with a special filter. Anyway, you got the problem of water. We were able to start a project there actually relatively very quick. Maybe. Golly. Mine sputter up here. Right. So this guy right here really was an educator for 40 years. We partnered with his son to get this project started. Really a cool partnership that happened just because we were there and starting to talk to people. But we have that project going. Last update as of 1 week ago, it's only 20,000 liters. Right. So enough water for about 7,000 people a day. Gets you about 7 million liters of water produced and sold per year. That project's going really well. This is on the edge of Kathmandu, with hopefully generating the income to go to that green space that you saw and buy the land and do one for the more remote communities a little bit farther out from the city. Honduras. This is Gustavo, good friend of mine. We've done many medical clinics in the mountains of Florida Copan. His wife Mildred is a physician. We went down there because I've seen the problem with water. It's like, okay, what can we do? And so we went down there this past March. We went to 3 places: Corcoran, Copan, Florida Copan, and then Zacapa, Santa Barbara. And so our goal was to see like which projects could we do first. We left. Actually, we didn't even leave. We didn't get to that point where we said we just got to figure out how to do it all. Right? 85,000 people here having horrific stories. So, Corcoran, Copan. This gentleman is charged with the water for the town. He goes, "This is all I can do." So I'm like, well, that's not good. Right? So we question is, this is the California came down the mountains of one of our medical clinics. So what's this? I probably can't read it. I can barely read my Bible. Sulfuric acid. So in Florida Copan, there's this thing that everybody gets really excited about. Where the podium is a crack in the ground with cold water. And they go, "This is my spring water." Sort of, but it's still contaminated. And then right over here where the computers are at, crack in the ground, there's hot water. You're like, oh, that's so cool. It's like a sink. Yeah, except for you don't have contaminants coming out of cold. You don't have sulfuric acid coming out of your hot water, right? Sulfur, this is a sulfur-based water, which is why it's hot. Sulfur plus H2O is sulfuric acid. There are probably 5,000 children with baby teeth in that community that their baby teeth are all gone. They're just eroded, eaten off by the sulfuric acid. You can filter that out. Right? You'll see that in a few months here. We didn't get to see the children there, we were a little busy, but you'll get to see the children in your clinic. This is Akapa, you have this beautiful lake, you start climbing out of here. But like somewhere up here over this mountain, over the next mountain is Santa Barbara. And, they have these water sources and they're, but the problem is, you think if water comes out of a well or a spring, that it's good. Right, and there are contaminants, they're just natural contaminants, there's some man-made contaminants that get brought along the way. The bottom line is you don't have safe water. So we left there saying, you know what, we don't have 100 projects. We have 100 project with 3 sites. Like I can't really go back there and look at in the eye if I don't come back with a solution. That's just maybe a personal cross that's a little bit too much. But so what are we gonna do? We want to strengthen partnerships along the way, right? So we just started our 10th year, have a lot of meetings along the way. We learn the value of partnerships. We've talked to Martin, who's the mayor of Zacapa. We have Rember, met him numerous times. You've met him, we'll see him again. We've done many clinics there. Good people trying to figure out how do they help their communities. They had 2 hurricanes back to back 5 years ago. I didn't really remember because they didn't hit us. Just kind of the nature of the world, isn't it? Right? They had 2 hurricanes back to back within a month, knocked out 80% of the infrastructure in Honduras. Right? Roads, you saw that, Cassie, right? Electricity, gone. Even bad water sources, gone. And there's just not enough money to get it all rebuilt all at once. And so they continue to suffer with the stories that I've told you. So I've met with Dr. Melvin many times. Dr. Melvin's an eye surgeon in Honduras. He and I go back probably as long as Gustavo. Was able to meet Dr. Marco. He's also an eye surgeon, president of Copan Rotary. His project manager, head of project management for Rotary, Mr. Madrid. And then again, we met Melvin while we were down there, had numerous meetings in Florida and Corqueen in Santa Barbara. And they said, hey, we like what you do, we're in. Right, so Rotary for Honduras is 3 countries, Honduras, Guatemala, Belize, right? They're one Rotary club. They're in, they're partnering with us. They said when you go back to the US, and this is a question, and I did double check to make sure this was okay to ask this question, but the question is on behalf, Melvin and Marco have said, hey, look, would you ask Rotary in America if they would partner along with us Rotarians down here in Honduras? Like, we're ready to go. This makes sense. Your plan makes sense. Your history with us makes sense. Can we do something? And so I think I got 2 minutes to spare, which is probably not a whole lot for questions. But with that, thank you for letting me update the work that happened in India. Really excited, how that's been going. We're excited about where we're headed now, working with a company outside of New York City that says, hey, I think we can help. Like this mission makes sense to us. Was talking with Rick earlier about, service disabled veterans who can do some things to help get us fast started on this side of the pond, to do some of these projects. So with that, let me open it up to questions. Yes, sir.
You may have talked about this a little bit last time you were here, but how do you deal with security? I mean, these are obviously attraction to the bad guys. There's money being generated.
Yeah. So a great question. So the question is about security. Like, what do you do? And that's part of our evaluation process. So with our in-country directors, before they even bring a site to us, they're starting to ferret and vet some of those things out. Who can we partner with that's already established they're doing humanitarian work so that we're not the first, white guy showing up, in the mountains of, Copan. And so with that, again, doing the clinics, working with the mayor of Copan or Florida, right? We have that established, we have that relationship. My Central American director, Gustavo, that you saw, has a Honduras humanitarian mission. So he already has a 501c3 established and doing work in Honduras. So that's the first step. Hey, can we partner with somebody that already knows the lay of the land to get us in a good spot to start? The other thing that happens is that, what is the community involvement? We went to all 3 sites and there were probably, I don't know, at least 4 or 5 tables full of people from the community. Formal leaders, informal leaders. Hey, why are you here? What are you talking about? And so that helps sort of build that a consortium locally of people who want to see this happen. And so now, India kind of, may not seem as a security threat or not, but it is. right? There's a lot of stuff with political faction, with religious faction. But the thing about it is, what we found is that we have made such a difference in the community that now the bad guy, whoever that is, has to take out the entire community. But it's this collective defense. Now, it doesn't mean there doesn't have to be things like, fences and CCTV and some other things that happen, but that's how we work through that thing. Part of what we're going back to Kenya to relook at. So, because the climate's changed there a little bit, and, some other things. And so with that kind of a process, so far all good. But it's still a far from stable world. So we try to look at that early on. The other thing we've done is we've done other things that are valuable to the community. For example, one was a soccer clinic. The high school in Connolly, India, 300 kids have never seen a soccer ball. Well, my daughter and her husband are university soccer coaches. We went and did a soccer clinic. But so you do things that also meet some of their other needs. We did women's healthcare education. Were you there, Kathy, for that? No, it was a trip prior with my daughter. So we did health education for women. Right, so you start to do things that they're asking for that you're not trying to push per se, and it helps build some of that cohesiveness to prevent that. Good question. Yes.
What does a partnership look like? Can you explain how we could help more?
Yeah. So I asked like Marco, because I know him the best. I'm like, okay, well, what are you thinking? He goes, well, first of all, you have to have people that are willing to partner. Right. If we do that, then we can discuss that thing. Part of what I believe, and so we'll find out from Mark if I've done this right, but they have money from their local Rotary clubs that they invest in Honduras, just like you invest here in this area. And there's things that you do. So they're in on that. What they also understand is the Rotarian process that says if Beavercreek gives $100, it gets matched by $100 US Rotary. Don't hold me to the number. I'm thinking I might close. So that $100 turns into 200. And then it gets matched by international 50%. So the 100 turns into 250, and then it goes to them, and now they have $250 with what they're doing. And so that's that kind of structure. I don't have a cost schedule performance for you yet in these projects. We're actually still trying to figure it out. We're actually probably going to do a public-private partnership, and what that means is these communities already have a water source, so I don't need to go find one. What I need to do is $1 a year for 99 years is lease the land right next to their water source that includes the access to the water source. Make the water, and then actually use their infrastructure, their piping scheme that's already there and influence those homes. I mean, as soon as we turn on the switch, we help 85,000 people. And so we're trying to figure out how that works and some of the costs with that. Gustavo, I know, is going back to some of our math with the local folks. So I think what they're looking for is, hey, look, is there somebody here in the US willing to partner on the international side? And then, those details can be worked out. Really with us almost being a third party on the side, because again, we'll have cost schedule performance, but really it's in partnership primarily with Rotary Honduras. But they know from a Rotary perspective, their funds can be leveraged as well. They also understand they just got done in Copan doing it was an $800,000 project for a school that they partnered with the US. So again, they didn't have to come up with 800,000, right? It's about bringing more of the, hopefully I'm using this term like the brotherhood of Rotary, to say, okay, look, and I'm sure you have the same problem they do. We have this sort of construct to help overseas, but kind of don't want to waste your money. You're not really sure what to do with it. We tried to do it with India last time, and unfortunately, the caste system bit us in the tail there. But we don't have the caste system in India or in Honduras. Yeah.
I have just a comment more than a question. So language is always an issue on these international things. And my son David, you guys had supported to be an exchange student. And so he's fluent Spanish and has worked as a translator for the last 3 summers in Indiana. So if the club ever wanted to facilitate a conversation for Rotary, I could get it.
And that's good because I know one Spanish word and I didn't use it right. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just gonna comment, because in 2019.
Okay, it was funny.
It was
Yeah.
2019. At that time.
Okay, yes.
That at the district level, because it was the India project, and we were trying to get an international project going, but you have to have, to answer Beth's question, you have to have a local club in that country to partner. So now we're in the reverse situation where you have somebody overseas wanting to partner locally.
Yeah, and so just the backside on India, and I'm not disrespecting India, but I love that country, but in the north is typically your higher caste, higher class. I'm in the south. And so, there was no Rotary Club there because it wasn't something that in their culture goes down to that level. So we tried to start one, but you can't just start a Rotary Club, you gotta have a sponsor. And they're like, no. So,
But once you hit that international project level, there are global grants then that are available much broader and much more than what we can get at the district level. So
yeah,
it's a great opportunity.
yeah, so it was funny, we were down there again and they're like, hey, look, like we're in, when we had the Zoom calls, we're like, okay, it makes sense. I'm like, well, we're gonna come down. But it's due diligence offer, let's come down, let's meet face to face over, let's eat together, let's go walk together, let's talk together. And because here's the thing, this is what we're about, and this is the why. If it doesn't make sense to you, reason to partner. We had that experience in Africa, that's why we're going back, like they didn't want what we had. They just wanted to wave a magic wand. And I'm like, haven't found it yet. Yes, sir.
Some of these places, I was wondering, do you have electricity even?
Yeah.
Do they all have electricity?
So so we go, so the question is, do you have electricity? So we go in with generation power. And so you can get fuel, and because of the volume of water you're making, you can dilute that cost. So even if it's expensive fuel, it doesn't really matter in the production. What we do though is we do try to tap into whatever electrical infrastructure is there, because it is cheaper. But it's just not, you can't count on it. So like in Connolly, we're into the main system. And the electricity is fairly cheap compared to fuel, just like here. But you can't rely on it. So it goes out, you're like, okay, you switch over, fire up the generator, and then you keep making water.
We have to do that as well as do the drink water. Sure.
Yeah, I've told people, this is like going to Mars, going to the moon.
Yeah.
But if you don't have it with you, you don't have it. You just don't have it, which is one reason I was so happy with Parker Stores and Triad for letting us the first time build it first. Because I'm thinking, man, this is gonna be a crapshoot if I get over to the jungle and I don't have a fitting.
Right.
Especially with my skill set and plumbing. Yes, sir.
The first model said it's generating net profits. Economies of scale, how many of those units reproduced then become self-sustaining, create with those profits new stations?
Yeah, so the economy, so the question of economy skills, you start one, it makes money, how many more can you make off of that? And so we have not started a second project off that first one yet, because their profits, instead of putting it aside to do that, because that was the original intent, we had 2 waves of COVID. They had a flooding of the century. I didn't get to that chart, but you saw maybe a chart, there was some flooding. The river was 12 times its normal height. And there were like 1.8 million people without homes. So we've chosen to respond humanitarian-wise to disaster versus keeping that in the bank account to do another one. That is a much higher goal with the Kathmandu project, because we have a site. The problem is though, if you show up as a white guy and a $20,000 land just became 120. And so, lesson learned. So we may not ever get that piece of land, but I'm going to send, my folks to do it and not me.
Yeah, if you have any more questions.
Yeah, I'll still be around.
So.
Thank you.
I know 2 words in Spanish. Cerveza and vodkas. Thank you very much for that presentation, and get back to us a little bit. I think you'd like to talk about. As always, we always give a book to our speaker. He's already signed this. It's going to the library. So this book is full of brains.
I should read it.
Next week's meeting is Levy Day. Talking about people wanting your money. Sending my money. So, we're one of them. So, next week's creators will be David and Beth, because Stephanie we can't do it. So, keep your eyes open for any upcoming programs. Beavercreekrotary.org or .com and Facebook and the emails that I send out. Anything else we got to close? David.
Tonight at Wandering Griffin, from 7:45 to 9:45,
is a Jimmy Buffett tribute. If you wanna go up there and listen to some of his music, get something to eat, get something to drink, join him. Up on Airway Road. Party with Wild Man. All right, if you don't stand, we'll do much. But pledge allegiance to the flag, and I think for America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, and we're going to have. Thank you. Bill's. Yeah. It's stuff that might be for hours. Don. So, yeah. Don't good. Oh, yeah. Yeah. In the Lord, that's. You know, I read the song. Except when it's out there, some that don't cuts. So there was something strong. That the song is start to the Bible, it's somewhere. That phone, you know, coming to the table. It's about cities like, get it. And it's right. Okay, now we can talk about the speed of the like it's fine. And you know, it's really, yeah, it's like, it's like only with all the mission. It's pretty. Yeah. Yes, it's like don't want to, you know, when there's nothing, never seen a real and it's just one of these. But I'm close. Right, so let's go setting up. There's been a road, change the road, and you know, I mean, no, it's fast, and what up there, you think, no, you're just sitting somewhere else in the ground and get it. Like you want your character, so you have people there, really selling it, it's certainly like, it's good if you're in trouble, right? You're selling it to us. So I have to go back and treat the last of the wire over here, what's it called? And okay. Yes. They probably in 100 years, they are more than any of them, which was.
Said, I formerly came by clay. But, you know, I think one of the down on the ground. Yeah.
Okay. So here's what, did you put the dry concrete on, sprinkle water and stick on it? Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately,
No, I'm saying, it's pretty wild. Should be good. I suppose.
so yeah, you got, you know, but for tons of, you can't think of it, yes.
That really, Richard, right?
And the rest of them are out. Got that's the only good one. You don't have much?
Sure. Where?
Hey, can see, sir, it's true here.
But I've had it since I was,
You know, have you know?
you know, I think I'm great,
Sir? Yes, this is about as range as I want around. Getting to where we are. It's 30, but I'm saying.
Great.
But as I've learned of the day, the ceremony. Just to make for him on the ground like that, that would be, oh, he's right where. Nothing tonight, we have Beavercreek Rotary tomorrow. Much more. People spend on that. Crowds, the rest of the time, 80%. Resident in us. Leader in the water, dryer, whatever, screw, Peter, look at you know, that's like you need 20 meters. They make that use of like 40 cents. It's pretty effective. Yeah, no, I mean, it doesn't matter. You do the same thing, but some parents and others, you know, that's what this guy, like, he is really much not the same for it. But, if you go, but y'all have to like, so you talk about, it's, they can change it. Like, you know, it's a really northwest part of the field. In the room, how they're being seen. You know, from us. Get down. What's the number? It's fast. It's just really short. I mean, then what will they say? They want their daughter. They are like. Okay, Francie. Yeah. So, I'm good. So I said, oh, it's everyone on. So now it's one of the teacher years. That's the balance. And we find it out. Selling the out. Yeah. Because when you're it's just great. Thank you. But that bill was a little white pieces of it. Model, yeah. We did that, so there's selling it, it's really showing it, it's really. They're very, which letters. But so I'm not sure yet. But it couldn't, so like it's said for the school, it's, that's the whole way, it's not right. It's cool, yeah, it was hard, but yeah. And so when I get this thing, that's a lot of work for a lot of people to access. Thank you, you know, I think you get, please. Call, it's nonsense. It's unsaturated. Unless you nerds like this. Well, it's not such a, I don't care. We have the bundle research, section bundle, that are, and here we can go, they for not take they called up. So for that, all the don't have it up to the house for some reason. I want the server, I don't think. You have no basketball, get out of me. Oh, that's what, oh, you should do it cheaper, you should try this little straw thing, you know? Yeah, right. Making sure all the research is done. Right, yeah, because I'm a hater of straws. Yeah, you're a more. I do. Yeah, I know. You gotta go. That's it. Oh. I didn't know when you're on this year. Yeah. I can't make my dollar like for words. Yeah, you invest so much in. I know. Then they go put holes in their ears and you learn to oh, I didn't. Turn out. Yeah, right. See my set eating there. I'm glad we didn't remember how long have you had this been like? So we started, got our IRS status 2020. Took us. Get an extra warning, so 15% what I needed. I'm like, and personal loans was didn't go on. Right. We jumped in the pool, so I gotta start swimming on tomorrow, so. But so that was 7 years of. I got that stuff. There's a lot. I feel like we're done crawling, we're starting to walk, and I'm hoping like it's part of the whole person at the end. So, sure. Because again, you know, we had a place. I mean, we're in there, right in the there. If we don't own all of it, like. Then can't go back, you know, when. Where it's that you know, twice the workers. Common skills. Right. So our bottled water costs. Yeah. Nuts. Yeah, so, so anyway, but, I feel like I'm on the cusp. You really are in class. Yeah, so, cause I got Honduras Rotary, I mean, they're in. Yeah, and that wasn't true. And what about, given that question, sustainability on those, so I changed the filters,
So all of that, so we sent the first project, we shipped it all up. That was a disaster. It's a disaster because shipping was $6,000. And then hospital was another $6,000. Right now, I had $3,000 worth of something in. From Asia. Here. But what we found is everything but the UV pretty sourced within 5 hours.
Yes.
The same, and my UV comes out and it's like, oh, climate change. I'm like, I'll tell you this, it's very, it's big, a big around 120,000 liters a day. And around for 5 years straight and go India. You don't even stop. So I don't get it. No. I'm still here.
why sources, manufacture stuff in Asia. That we use. So I worked for Nate Superior.
Okay.
And I was product manager, Jack Walter. But he ended up on a scout team to
Yeah.
go into some of these emerging countries. And they looked at me like I had two heads. I'm throwing all the mathematical models on guys. Why do you want to build seismic and skyscrapers? They don't have so I went all the models, into this question models based on that. What? Awesome. Yeah, me too. It's either this go to a pizza meeting, so you want.
All right, cool. I mean,